Welcome to The Brief. I'm Jim Sciutto in New York. We begin early today with breaking news. India launching a military operation targeting what it calls terrorist infrastructure inside Pakistan and Pakistan-Administered Kashmir. Those the sounds of explosions during those strikes. India says it struck 9 targets, adding that none of them are Pakistani military facilities. A Pakistani military spokesperson says the country will respond to those attacks, adding that at least 3 people have been killed in the Indian strikes. This comes after gunmen killed 26 people in Indian-administered Kashmir last month. India blamed Pakistan for those attacks. Nick Robertson is live now in Islamabad, and it's worth reminding our viewers that these are 2 nuclear-armed nations that have fired at each other before. Tell us what the situation is now and concerns about escalation now.
There's a real concern about escalation. Pakistan vowed that if India attacked, that they would respond. That was part of their military doctrine. They believe, and I've been speaking over the past few days with very senior security officials here, and they believe that this incident inside Indian-controlled Kashmir, where 26 civilians were killed, that India blamed on Pakistan, that Pakistan denied, they believe that this had now come, the relations with India had now come to a moment, a defining moment, where Pakistan needs to take a definitive stand, because India has threatened to cut off water supplies coming down 3 major rivers, vital, existential. Security officials describe the water from those rivers. So this is the sort of context to why that this is at a moment of extreme potential escalation. Pakistani security officials are saying that they are right now, their Air Force right now is in the throes of delivering what they describe as a crushing blow to India as a response for this strike. Previously, when I've spoken with Pakistani officials over the past few days, they've said that if India's retaliatory strike, which they thought was coming, they said if it just came in Pakistan-administered Kashmir, that would be something that would be more easily tolerable than striking Pakistan proper, if you will. At least 2 of the strikes we understand this evening, and we're getting these early details, are in Pakistan proper. This tells me, from what the officials have been speaking about, that this will demand from the Pakistani side a much higher level of response. Again, this speaks to the potential for escalation. How does India respond to this? One of those strikes in Murad K inside Pakistan proper was literally just about 20 miles from the border with India. So for their fighter jets, if that's what it was, to come over and strike, that was a relatively easy operation. However, these strikes have been on the audible, if you will, outskirts of Islamabad. Our cameraman here with me, Javid, his house is about an hour from where we are in the center of Islamabad. His house shook. There were 2 loud explosions, he said, and his house shook from those explosions. So that gives you an idea how close some of the strikes have been to Islamabad, perhaps about 50, 60, 70 kilometers away. The other explosions I was describing that have happened elsewhere in Pakistan have also been near the major city of Lahore, the sort of very outer reaches of that. So again, these are very strong signals, if you will, that the Indian military is sending to the Pakistani government. Again, it speaks to the potential for escalation. We have to wait and see what Pakistan's response is. What it's been, they describe it as crushing. We don't have details yet, and therefore what India may do after that. Jim?
Nick, I wonder, given that India's strikes, and this is notable to your point, struck both inside Pakistan-controlled Kashmir and inside Pakistan proper, is it reasonable to expect that crushing blow, as Pakistani officials are describing it, might do the same in kind? That is, strike inside Indian-administered Kashmir, but also perhaps inside India itself?
I think there's a genuine potential for that, and the military here have released pictures of some of the victims of the overnight attack from India, and the first assessment of the Pakistani military here is that they only have civilian casualties, and some of the images they released show women and children blooded and inside a hospital. So again, that the fact that women and children have been injured beyond military-age males is going to, if you will, ratchet up the potential for response. Now, Pakistan's military is describing the casualties that they've seen so far as civilian casualties. It's unclear to me whether Pakistan would strike back at military targets or if they would strike back beyond that. If they strike back at military targets, there's a potential that escalation doesn't get out of hand. But this is, the tensions have been hugely high. The Pakistani security officials believe this is an existential moment. The fact that the water to the country that powers a lot of the electricity generation here, that's absolutely vital, it's vital for agriculture. They feel that as an existential issue, and therefore their response was going to be accordingly strong from that perspective. It's very unclear to me where it will go from here, but the language has been very, very clear. If you track it, and I've been coming here for about, well, over 25 years. I first came here when Pakistan and India were fighting another one of their major skirmishes, which killed thousands of troops high in the Himalaya mountains inside of Kashmir, the Kargil battle that lasted several months. The language has become much harder and tougher in Pakistan from the military since then. This is an army, remember, that's been fighting an insurgency on their western border that has actually become increasingly ferocious as the security situation in Afghanistan has deteriorated and Islamist militants have used Afghanistan as a base and attacked into Pakistan with ferocity, that the army here over the past couple of decades has become tougher and stronger militarily in their ethos, in their outlook, and one can even say in their leadership. So there is a very strong and toughened military from the Pakistan's perspective, but also from the way their leadership evaluates the battle space and relation with neighbors. It's quite, in military terms, it's a tough leadership right now.
And Nick, drawing on your experience of previous high points in tensions, just personally, I remember being in India and Pakistan some 20 years ago in the 2000s when there was concern that there might be an escalation even to a nuclear exchange. Granted, just concern, and of course that didn't come to be. But place this current standoff in recent historical context in terms of how severe the tensions are today.
To give it a sort of try to give it a simple context here, you have a tougher and, if you will, more forward-leaning military. You have a military that, in the estimation of most Pakistani civilians, has a big influence in the running of the country. So there's that perspective. It's a tougher, more forward-leaning, more robust outlook, and national security decisions would reflect that. That this tension has been growing, as you say, it's unresolved for 75 years since the dispute over Kashmir left unresolved in 1947 after the British Empire basically divided India into two countries, Pakistan and India. Pakistan, of course, Muslim majority, India, Hindu majority. They fought three major wars in the intervening period. 71 was one of the biggest, and various skirmishes as recently as 2019 and more subsequently. But in the outlook of where the situation is, it is the fact that India has decided to shut off water from these three major rivers that feed Pakistan's agriculture, therefore economy, therefore more than 200 million population, and power generation, which is vital, particularly in the summer when it gets extremely hot. It's needed for air conditioning, running industry. So these are existential issues for Pakistan at the moment, and that's, I think, that will underpin the thinking and has been expressed to me by very senior security officials here that the water issue is key. And I think just to give a little bit of additional background on the water, this is something that was being litigated in courts in recent months. And the Pakistani perception is that India had been looking for a legal way to abrogate the terms of that Indus Water Treaty signed in 1960, had been looking for a legal way to do that in recent months, and had taken this particular killing of 26 civilians as a rationale and reason to immediately jump to that position. So this is something that Pakistan has seen coming, and therefore they believe that this is not just a sudden decision by India, it's something they're pushing for.
Brewing for some time. Nick Robertson, thanks so much.